Welcome to the Side Hustle to Small Business podcast powered by Hiscox. I'm your host, Sanjay Parekh. Throughout my career, I've had side hustles, some of which have turned into real businesses. But first and foremost, I'm a serial technology entrepreneur. In the creator space, we hear plenty of advice on how to hustle harder and why you can sleep when you're dead. On this show, we ask new questions in hopes of getting new answers. Questions like, how can small businesses work smarter? How do you achieve balance between work and family? How can we redefine success in our businesses so that we don't burn out after year 3? Every week, I sit down with business founders at various stages of their side hustle to small business journey. These entrepreneurs are pushing the envelope while keeping their values. Keep listening for conversation, context, and camaraderie. Today's guest is Samantha Mittman Besnoff, the founder behind Your Financial Maven. Samantha is a certified CPA and independent life insurance agent with over 25 years of experience in the field. She also hosts the podcast, Your Financial Maven. Samantha, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'm excited to have you on because money is the lifeblood of all businesses.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be here.
I'm sure we're going to have a lot of fun discussion about your business and kind of what it took to get there.
Absolutely.
To the point that you're at now. But before we get into all of that, give us a little bit about your background and what did get you to where you are today.
Sure. I grew up in the suburbs of Philadelphia, spent my time watching my dad, who also is an independent life insurance agent, running his own business, learning from him. My grandmother actually lived with us. She lived with us for about 43 years, and she was all about tracking your money. When we had checkbooks and bank statements that got mailed, she would, till she passed away when she was 99 years old, she was diligent with her checkbook. So my money skills and knowledge came from her. I joke with my mother because it was my parents, my grandmother, and my sister and brother. And my mother liked to spend the money. My grandmother liked to track it. And then there was my dad. But between him and my accounting high school teacher, I just fell in love with accounting. And so I ended up at the University of Pittsburgh. I have a bachelor's of science in business accounting. I'm a certified public accountant. And I love working with numbers. People think I'm crazy, but I love it. My now husband, we met out at school. We moved to Lancaster, got jobs. We have 2 boys, young adults. And I absolutely, like I said, I love working with clients who are small business owners, entrepreneurs, helping them with they're understanding their business. I also love my fur baby, Sasha. So I'm a big dog mama, and the beach. I need to get down the shore whenever I can. I need that, the waves and the sun, in that. And a fun fact, I scooter to work sometimes. It's really funny. My office is 2 miles from where I live in Lancaster, and I sometimes scooter to work, and I love it. So I guess I'm a scootering accountant. I don't know.
Scootering, at least when it's not super hot or rainy
Correct.
Or snowy.
Yes. Or if I have use of the car, because we're sharing it right now with the 4 of us, and we have 3 cars.
Oh, wow.
So a little bit of a juggling till the one goes back to college.
So is your husband also an accountant as well? Finance
He is not. He works in IT for a local company in Lancaster. He's been there 29 years. And he's been home since COVID. Loves it. Loves working from home. Yeah. And like I said, I have 2 young adults. My oldest just graduated from college in computer science and is home.
Awesome.
He'll be working from home also. Got a job in the area. And then the youngest, he's heading off to his 2nd year of college soon. So
yeah. I think I get a sense of the reason why you're scootering to work and not working out of the home as well.
That's right.
Because you got the dog, you got people, so it's a lot going on.
I actually don't mind it. It's great, it kind of gets my head where it needs to be for work. So
yeah, that's good. Well, you already answered my other question. Were there other entrepreneurs in the family? So it sounds like your dad was. Definitely. Was anybody else in the family an entrepreneur?
I don't know. My sister did a lot of art stuff. She's very artistic. So when we were growing up, she's older than me. She's 6 years older. She would do like shoes and hats and paint them for friends, things like that. My niece does cookie baking and pastries and breads. So it's not full entrepreneurs, but they do that kind of side hustle, kind of work.
Oh, that's awesome.
It is definitely in our blood.
Yeah. So growing up, when you saw your dad working on his business, you know, he was by himself. Did you ever get the opportunity to work with him or do things for him?
A little bit more so now. I've worked with him now for the last 10, 12 years. He sells a lot more insurance than I do, but I do try. It's not an easy business. But I do work alongside of him for some things now. When I was growing up, he did have a partner originally, then that fell through, and then he was all by himself. And there would be times I'd help him. Back then it was a lot of mailing of, postcards. He would do this thing for mortgage insurance. So you can sell life insurance to help cover your mortgage. And my grandmother and I would sit at the kitchen table and we would stuff all the cards. We'd seal the envelopes, put the stamps on them. My grandmother would type on the typewriter all the cards out. So yeah, we were a part of the family business. We joked that he only had kids to help him with the business. So,
there's more reasons than that to have kids.
Absolutely.
Which is BIT support for you. There's multiple reasons actually. Go get the remote. There's a bunch of other good reasons. So when you were kind of thinking about doing this, how did you start your business? Did you go straight in from graduating from college, or was there steps in between?
There were a lot of steps in between. When I went off to college, my dream at the time was to work for the big 6 accounting firms, go in there, do my internship, get the job, get the CPA license. And that didn't quite go the way I expected. I ended up graduating a semester early and worked for an accounting firm proofreading. I did a lot of proofreading. I learned financial statements and tax returns from that. And then I moved with my husband to Lancaster when he got his job. And I ended up working for the state of PA auditing school districts. So I did government work. I went into public accounting for a few years. I went into corporate accounting. I did tax accounting. I was an executive director of a nonprofit organization. And when I was the executive director, it was part-time. And I started helping people with their taxes. And I thought, this gives me more flexibility to be home with my young kids, to make my own schedule. And so, it was kind of a weavy little path to having my job and creating my business almost 11 years ago.
Yeah. I think that's the story of almost all entrepreneurs, a weavy little path, and we somehow find our way, because
we do.
Very few that just kind of set out from the beginning. Can you reflect back? Was there something in that path that you now reflect back and realize that was a key moment or key learning that has helped you in launching the business?
I think I have always known I wanted to work for myself. I think there was something in there that said, I need to get experience, but I really want to work for myself. And I think I just started getting tired of answering to others. Don't get me wrong. I do work with my clients. I answer to them when they have, tax questions, but I wanted to have more control of what I do, what I can provide to my clients without somebody else telling me it just has to be this way. I always questioned why. Why do we have to do things this way? There's got to be other, paths and things like that. And I also came across some board members when I was the executive director who were entrepreneurs who did very well for themselves. And I learned a lot from them too. And I thought, I need to do this for myself.
Yeah.
My younger son suffers from a rare migraine disease. So that was also a reason why to do things for myself so that I could have more flexibility.
Yeah. Was there anything that made you nervous when you decided to go in? Because you were in, you said government and corporate, you had a steady paycheck. Was there anything that?
Yeah, the steady paycheck wasn't the nervousness. I think it was the getting the clients, the marketing.
That part of it, okay.
That kind of stuff. And how do I get out there and let people know that I have experience, and when I started 11 years ago, the internet was there, but the social media and the reaching out to people wasn't as prominent as it is now. The networking, the going out and being part of a chamber or women's groups, things like that. So I think more the marketing and getting the clients than the actual work. I'm very confident in doing the tax work, but
So how did you overcome that for yourself? Because, you're mostly a finance person. You're talking about marketing. That's a challenge, I think, for a lot of people, figuring out how to market yourself effectively.
A lot of it was word of mouth when I first started out. I might put a few ads, we have a local little newspaper you can do free press releases. But I really just word of mouth. And then I started to get into networking groups and just talking to people. And a lot were friends and family initially, who then talked to other people and said, hey, and social media, I would say about 2-3 years into it, Facebook, I really started to get into posting a business page and really getting out there. I work well, now I'm 100% virtual. At the time, 60, 70%. So I do have clients from all over. Some of them I got through like different, online job search kinds of things.
Right.
But I would say in the last 5 years is where I've really been pushing, to gain the clients. Kids are older. I have more time to focus on the business.
When thinking about that, when you were doing kind of word of mouth marketing, was that accidental? Was that intentional? Like,
I'd say a little bit of both. Yeah, a little
Yeah.
bit of both. I mean, you have to be intentional. If you really, really want to get a client base, you have to put yourself out there. And that's not always easy for me. I mean, I say I'm an introvert extrovert. So like I can be all extroverted when we're doing this, talking to my clients. But then when I get to networking events, I sometimes like, ooh, I don't know. Should I talk to this person? Going with friends, going to events with friends and having them kind of nudge me. So a little bit of both. A little bit of it's organic.
Yeah. I think events are probably like one, even if you're an extrovert, it's one of the hardest things when you're walking into a room with people you don't know, right? Like I feel that too. I'm extroverted as well. And then, sometimes you feel that like, uh-oh, like I don't know anybody. Everybody is already talking to people. Like, what do I do? So do you have any strategies for yourself? Like other than going with friends, if you don't go with friends, like what do you do?
Well, I started doing some with friends. I actually had a girlfriend who introduced me to another chamber in Lancaster. Lancaster has several chambers, which is great. I'm part of 2 of them. And so the Northern Lancaster Chamber, she introduced me and I just started to push myself and go, I got to go talk to somebody. You got to walk over and just stand there with a drink in your hand or a plate of food and just start talking, introduce yourself. And I've been doing that more and more, I'd say the last 6 months than over the last 11 years. Just forcing myself to talk and you still get awkward, but you have to do that. And then getting into groups on Facebook or social media, a lot of little different kinds of networking groups. I'm also part of CPA groups, just really connecting on LinkedIn and Facebook have been my bigger areas and threads is growing. So
yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you mentioned before too, you've got a podcast. Why did you decide to start doing that in addition to the business?
Yeah, I always have loved talking to people about money. Financial literacy is huge and we're not doing a service, especially to women and young adults, and our kids. And I've always told my kids, like, I will talk to my boys about everything. People think I'm nuts. I will tell them what was our mortgage, what do we make, because they have to learn. How else are they going to learn? So I started to do little vlogs and podcasts and blogging for my clients. And then I ended up coming across this contest to be one of the next up and coming women podcasters with Seneca Women and iHeart, and thought, I'll just send my stuff in. Didn't think anything of it, and I was one of 10 women that became winners of the contest out of 500. So through that, I learned how to do more podcasting. And when I launched in 2023, it was pretty good, in a good spot, and getting that word out. And I love doing it. And I do webinars too. I do local basic taxes 101 at a local college. And I love to talk about it. It's weird. I know. Taxes are weird.
you kind of touch upon this. It's one of those funny things. And I see this all the time and some of the things that I do as well, that people are like, oh man, that's courageous to make that ask out of nowhere. And I'm like, well, right now, if I don't make the ask, it's already a no. If I do make the ask, there's at least a chance. It could still be a no, right? Yeah. That's like the same approach that you took of like, well, let me just send this in and see what happens, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you are one of the top 10.
It was in the middle of tax season. I don't know what I was thinking. And I did this. And literally 2 weeks to the end of tax season, I get the email and I was like, no, this can't be true. And like, I sat on it for 3 days because my brain was April 15th. And then I couldn't believe it. But I love to talk about this. I talk to my clients. I don't talk above my clients.
Right.
I have to use accounting and tax terms here and there, but my clients have always said I'm so easy to talk to. And I love to share my knowledge because people need to learn at any age, really.
Yeah. Yeah, totally agree. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit.
Sure.
You've been doing this for 11 years now.
Yes.
How do you manage the stress of doing this kind of full time, as well as then family and all the other stuff that's in life?
It is a balance. I mean, I don't always get it right. Tax season is my hardest. January to April, my family knows I work 7 days a week. I might not be working on return 7 days a week, but I am in the office working. My hours are long. A lot of stress with that. And I just have to do some self-care. I will set boundaries with my clients. During, tax season, they know they can get a hold of me every day, except from be like 10 at night till like 6 in the morning. I don't answer texts. I don't answer emails. Off tax season, Monday through Friday only with my clients.
Right.
So setting boundaries and taking care of myself, having to say it's okay to put everything away, go out to dinner with my husband or the kids, or go with a girlfriend, get a glass of wine somewhere, go to the beach. Sometimes I'll do that in the winter, go down to the shore, go to a movie, go work out. I try to work out a couple times a week. I could do more, but there is stress in it, right? I mean, being an entrepreneur, you are on 24/7 because your brain is always like, ooh, I should do this, I should do that. But you have to set your boundaries or you're going to go nuts. And I didn't do that initially. When I first started, I didn't. I was answering clients at 1 a.m. and I shouldn't have done that.
This is the bad affliction of being an entrepreneur. Man, this dumb brain that keeps thinking all the time.
Yes.
And I think it's a part of like just loving what we do, right? Like loving the fact that we get to be problem solvers every day.
Absolutely.
And I think it's a different kind of person that kind of gravitates to kind of the things that we do. Let's talk about the balance that you have now with the business and the podcasting, because you just talked about how January through April, like, don't talk to me. I'm busy like the whole time. So you can't take 4 months out when you're running a podcast. So like, how are you thinking about that in terms of running this kind of side hustle, which obviously supports the main business, but really like through January through April, like you're like, I don't want any new clients right now. I'm busy.
Oh, to be honest, I will have to say this tax season, I actually used my podcasting interviews and time I took with it to be my break. Like nice. It was like, okay, I'm going to spend Thursday just doing podcasts for that day. Because I know I've got all this other work, and I've kind of scheduled it. I have an editor, which has saved me. She is phenomenal. Chris is phenomenal. So that helps. But I try, I take some hiatus breaks and I don't get into it. Finding guests was hard in the beginning.
Yeah.
So that kind of put a damper on, if I take a break, between seasons, season 1 and now my ongoing episodes, I took a couple months break and it was hard to get back into it. But once I got into it, I'm like, all right. And now, I've got, I try to book out. So I think I have like 10 to 12 interviews now booked through September to do, put in the can, as they say, right? Put it in the can and have it, and then work with my editor, and then I can get it out. And I try to do that so that at least for parts of tax season, I can have that done. I don't interview all of the time during tax season. I try to do a couple episodes of me just saying, hey, here's some information you need to know. Takes me 15 minutes to do it. I spend a morning doing it. I'll edit that. It's really easy and I'll put it out there. My little bonus episodes. So, but I look at it as a release. I love this. I love this.
Well, let's talk about something else that you kind of mentioned as a release, which was exercise. You say, you try to do it a few times a week. So how do you kind of try to fit that in, and where does it land in the stack of things that are important during
I have to schedule it, honestly. Like if it's not on the calendar and I say, I'm going to go over to the health club and I'm going to walk or I'm going to swim, and if I don't put it on the calendar, I won't do it,
Is there like a particular time of day? Are you a morning, afternoon, evening?
So I used to be really early morning because we used to have to get up, help our younger son get up because he always struggled to get out of bed. And then I'm like, all right, I'm up, I'm out the door. Well, honestly, I'm just like, I don't get out of bed now till like 7 because I kind of feel like, I don't have to get him up anymore. And, and then so somewhere in the morning, I try to get to the club, sometimes in the afternoon on the weekends. I mean, my husband's up at 4:30 every morning, 5 days a week at going to the club. And I can't get up. Yeah, bless his heart, because I can't get up.
That's just
but I do
all kinds of wrong. I'm very sorry to your husband, but that's just all kinds of wrong.
I am so happy that he does it. But I try to balance that in the morning. Sometimes I can't. I have to do it in the afternoon. But if I don't put it on the schedule, I might go walk the dog, right? But it's hot right now. It's too hot. So I got to imagine at 4:30 in the morning, the club is probably not that big, or maybe it is busy. It opens at 5. And honestly, my husband says you'd be surprised how many people are there at 5.
Yeah.
And I've gone at 6:30. I have done it.
Right.
I'm on summer break to a degree. During tax season, I do try to do first thing in the morning just so I can have the rest of the day. But
right. It gets you up and gets the blood flowing for the rest of the day. So that's good.
It does.
Yeah.
I mean, I can honestly say, I just at least twice a week, 3 times a week, but I'd like to do more. But
Yeah. Almost all of us can probably do more. So
yes.
yeah, it's a good goal to have.
It is a good
okay. Let's talk about kind of reflecting back then on this journey that you've had so far, and thinking about, what you might want to do differently if you could. Is there anything that stands out to you that you do differently?
I think the confidence in myself. I think when I first started out, I underpriced my abilities, to work on tax returns. I did it for a very low price.
And what reason was that? Were you not confident, not sure?
I think there was a little bit of confidence of getting people to trust me. And then a lot of them was family and friends. And I didn't want to I didn't want to rake them over the coals. And not sure, honestly, when I first started doing it, would I do anything with this? Right. So I didn't want to put all this investment and money but a lot of it was confidence in myself to say, no, I'm a certified public accountant. I have gone for training all these years. I get continuing education every year. I need 80 hours of continuing education every 2 years. So it's not like I just go, oh, I'm an accountant and I don't do any work. I'm continually learning and going to webinars and seminars and things like that. And about year 3 or 4, I realized I am way too low in my prices. And I started getting clients that I just didn't want to work with. That were just, I undercharged them, but their work was just outrageous. Oh, it's a simple return when it wasn't.
And then when you looked at your hourly at that point, was that the thing that set you off being like, oh, this doesn't make sense?
I didn't do an hourly rate. I actually did flat rates. I started out right out the bat doing flat rate.
Right. But then you translate that back into an hourly when it's too many hours.
Yeah, I did. And I started year 3 or 4 going, wait a minute, I am way under where I need to be. And, my current clients at the time, I kept them kind of where they were. I raised them a little bit, but any new clients, I was like, this is my rate, and every year I'm like, this is my rate. And now, I've shifted my business a little bit. I'm trying to get a little bit away from individual tax work and do more small business and entrepreneur work. Although there is individual tax work in that, there's still business work as well. So shifting more to an annual fee where it's a monthly, like you can pay me monthly kind of thing, subscription type base. It's a journey, but it was the confidence to say, and also to not apologize, right? Yeah. That confidence of not apologizing for why I do what I do, why I charge for what I do. And this is my business, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's something that all entrepreneurs struggle with, even if you've been an entrepreneur for a long time, of this oh, is anybody going to pay this much? This worry that
they'll pay it
worth it.
Yeah, there are people who won't. I cannot tell you how many calls I get during tax season. How cheap can you do my tax work? Yeah. And my response is that I'm not the one you want to hire, because you get what you pay for, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah. I think that's for us as entrepreneurs, kind of learning how to discriminate with the segment of people that you want to deal with. And for some people, the people that want cheap taxes, those are the clients that they want.
Absolutely.
Which is great. Have at it. But for you, it's kind of that upper end.
And not to apologize for that, right? It's okay to set who you want to work with.
Right. Yeah, 100%. So, kind of as you have set these systems in place, is there any technology or methodology that you've used to help you manage all of this stuff for these clients? Yeah.
Yes, I a lot. I have to say Google Calendar or Microsoft Outlook Calendar. Well, my family uses Google Calendar, so we all have our calendars and all. But I've translated that to my office as well. I have a scheduling software that I use. Clients can go and schedule, and then it goes right onto my calendar. I use a client portal, a secure client portal, where I chat with my clients. All documents can go there. It's called TaxDome. It's made for accountants with tax work, bookkeeping work, that kind of thing. It has workflows in it, so helps automate processes. I could set up engagement letters in the beginning. And then once the clients say, yeah, we want to do this, I can send the email out and it automatically sends them something to sign. Once it signs, it puts them into the next, workflow. So I absolutely have utilized technology. This whole AI thing, people are so scared of AI, and I'm utilizing it because it has helped me take care of the small things so that I can do the bigger things with my clients.
Right.
And spend more time with my clients.
Yeah, that's a great perspective on technology just in general, I think. Okay, last question for you.
Yeah.
What would you tell somebody that is thinking about taking that leap like you did and either launching a side hustle or going all in like you did?
I think a couple things. First, understand that when you're launching it, you're not going to have that 15 minutes of fame or right out the gate, make that first $100,000. You might, but most of us, it's a lot of ebbs and flows, and you have to understand and be willing to know that there's going to be some lean times and there's going to be not so lean times in that regards. And just the other thing, I say this to all my clients, if you are doing a side hustle, you're not 100% sure if you want to become more of an entrepreneur, grow that small business, no matter what, separate your finances, put all your side hustle and business monies into an account separate from your personal. It will save you in the long run. It really will give you a better idea. And doing something like a QuickBooks or a Wave, an accounting software or Excel to track everything, so you have a better idea of where things are, and have patience.
I think that's something I've seen often is entrepreneurs, first-time entrepreneurs especially, that don't really understand how well they're doing.
Yeah.
Or not realizing that they're actually losing money in the business because they haven't tracked all of that well.
Right. And hiring a professional, to be honest, I know even when you get started, if this is really your passion, yes, hiring a CPA, hiring a lawyer, it might mean, that's a lot of money out of my pocket initially, but in the long run, it will save you a lot of heartache and get you to understand. And finding that professional that wants to work with you and doesn't talk above you, and wants to be there with you in the journey.
Samantha, this has been fabulous. Where can our listeners find and connect with you online?
Sure. You can check out my website, www.yourfinancialmaven.com. And then if you go onto that website, at the bottom is all my social media, but I am on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, all under Your Financial Maven. I'm on Threads, under Your Financial Maven. And my podcast you can find on Spreaker, Prime Network, or wherever you listen to your podcast. So
there you go. Thanks so much for being on today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Side Hustle to Small Business podcast, powered by Hiscox. To learn more about how Hiscox can help protect your small business through intelligent insurance solutions, visit hiscox.com. And to hear more Side Hustle to Small Business stories or share your own story, visit hiscox.com/side hustle to small business. I'm your host, Sanjay Parekh. You can find more about me at my website, sanjayparekh.com.